So our next speaker is Adam Button, and I've known Adam for quite a few years. I knew, okay, Adam's in there. I knew Adam from when he just worked at Forex Live, and this is the kind of guy he is. He saw something that he liked that was working, became available to buy it, and Adam has turned Forex Live into something bigger and greater than it was before. He's also one of the best fundy traders that I know, and every time I interview Adam, I learn from him. So you can find Adam at Forex Live. That's also their Twitter handle at Forex Live. Welcome to our summit, Adam Button.
Thank you for the very nice introduction there, Dale.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so proud of what you've accomplished since you took that over. As you know, I remember when you were an employee.
It was a great trade.
You know, the Canadian dream.
It was
find
a
place
trade.
you work and take it over. And
you only get a trade like that. You know, it came up and
yeah. So it was a news trade for you. One of your best long-term position trades, I would say, Adam.
It was.
So your topic looks fascinating. Looking forward to hearing your presentation and talking about, especially in this era that we're in now, Adam. You know, I haven't talked to you since COVID hit this part of the globe, and I've seen things that are unprecedented, like minus $38 crude. You know, some of the liquidity coming out of precious metals where bid offers, there's wide spreads. The Fed had to come in and save the bond market when it locked up. So looking forward to you really, you remind me of this expression, Adam. To be there for the good times, you have to be there all the time. So you're going to talk about 8 ways.
Hey, Adam.
Yes.
I just wanted to say hi as well. Nice to have you here.
Hey, it's so good to be here. I got some great presentation. I got a whole presentation here, brand new one. It's like a two-parter. It's two presentations in one.
Wow.
You know, I really like what Boris said there about keeping it simple. That really resonates with me, and that is.
Wait! Before you start, Adam, I just wanted to say, thank you so much for being part of this. Really appreciate it.
Hey, there's Blake.
Thanks so much. Maybe that'll.
Great to have you. I'm going to let you go. I just want to say thanks for being here. You're awesome. I've followed you for years, even before Forex Live. So.
Sorry to make funny faces. Yeah, thanks so much. Listen, this is I got a great presentation for you. I'm bringing it. I think I'm bringing my A game here today. So. Thanks so much, and let's
take it away, buddy.
See if I can show the. I don't want to run out of time here. Share screen.
You have a PowerPoint?
Got a PowerPoint? Doing it.
A powerful PowerPoint.
Well,
there we go.
Like anyway, nobody's worried about the format. It's all about the content, right? Same as Forex Live. It's not the prettiest website in the world, but it's the best one as far as I'm concerned. All right. I don't want to waste any more time.
It's with the greatest of pride that you're announcing how humble you are.
Wait, I'm just getting started, Dale. This is the about me part. This is where I really go off. Is that you? Can you see my screen there?
We got you.
About Adam?
We got
when my hair was a little shorter, when I didn't have the COVID-19 haircut there?
When you were a bachelor traveling all over the world.
Whoa, you remember those days in Panama, Dale?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, living in the Trump Hotel on the Pacific Ocean. Swimming at lunchtime every day. Better than this weather. Okay, I'm going. Okay, it's a bit about me. So Forex Live, hope to catch some new people here today. You know, we have probably the biggest Forex Twitter handle at Forex Live. I've written over 100,000 posts. That might even be 200,000 posts now about FX. We're in the trenches 12 hours a day, every day, 24 hours a day as a team. And we're all about staying on top of everything. And like Dale said, I forget that expression you used already, but that was a good one. Okay, so this was kind of a two-part presentation. We're going to go about the headline presentation, which is awesome, and then we've got one with some trade ideas at the end, talking about what's happening in markets now because it's so exciting. Right now, you know, I've been using this kind of meme a lot lately. Chaos is a ladder. It's like Littlefinger from Game of Thrones. This is the chaos. Welcome to the chaos. You want to climb the ladder? You want to get rich? It's time to get into it. If you want to run away, you're missing out on a great opportunity here right now. And kind of the point is people look for a life raft sort of during this, but nobody knows anything, and it's tough to use someone else's conviction. And it's important that you get in there, but you stay in the game during this time. Right now and I'll talk about it later, there's a bubble in bubbles. There's this Wall Street Bets crowd, there's options traders. It's insane out there. And I even know people who had no interest in trading suddenly just lost $25,000 buying put options on the SPY. So that it is changing the game a little bit. We're going to have some 4 trade ideas at the end. So let's go fast here, pay attention to the presentation. But the first point is pay attention to what's happening. Read everything. I think that is the key to trading fundamentals and trading news. And it's really, the Warren Buffett school. And I read news. He reads 10Ks and 8Ks. And you really have to to get opportunities, you have to be on the ball all the time. I mean, it's a difficult thing to do if you don't like it. I love it. Yeah. So that's what I do. And we try to bridge that gap because there's an information overload. One thing you should do is pay for news. Forex Live is 100% free. I'm not here selling anything. I'm doing this because I'm just trying to help people and because I love it. Just promoting Forex Live. But we'll say if you are paying attention, there is little edge in scheduled news. There was a time when I first started trading. If you had a Bloomberg terminal and you were watching news releases come out, like PCE came out today, or initial jobless claims, and you could sit there and you just click buy, click sell, like right when it came out, you just make money all day. It was like a very brief period in my trading career, but a lot of my mentors, they got obscenely rich just doing that. Just click. Those days are over, unfortunately. Now it's more about anticipating and game planning around.
What ended that, Adam? What ended that phase?
Computers got faster than us.
Algos. Okay.
And and that was sort of the end of that. And
okay, thank you.
Just got, so technology was advancing, right? There was a time you could have, an algo could have been there, but the bridge between the execution on it, you could still do it faster, man. And in a lot of cases, you still can, but it's not on scheduled news, right? Because those are numbers. They're very easy to set up an algo for. So whereas they're headline scraping algos as well, but they're not as aggressive, number one, and you can outsmart them. Write things down. Another thing, if you're paying attention, I'm blessed, I feel, to work at Forex Live because we're just writing all day and it helps you clarify your thoughts. But if you are doing
NLP.
that, keep writing down. Yeah, that's how you stay in the game. But the other thing about it is you got to pay attention. You got to be prepared. So this was one of the best trades I had in a long time. Best trade this year. I don't know how many thousands of dollars I made. It was a lot. I don't want to say it because it'll sound uncouth on here or whatever. I was just watching CNBC. It's like 3 weeks ago. Joe Kernan, who I despise, comes on CNBC, says, I just got a call from President Trump. He says Saudi and Russia are going to cut oil production by, 10, 15 million barrels per day. And then you're just ready. Yeah, you got to have your stuff up. You just buy oil, give me all the oil, everything I had. And that was it. And then he tweeted it like 5 minutes later. Oil went up 25% or something in 15 minutes and close up position. That's all she wrote. I mean, that's your whole year right there. So you're spending 8 or 10 hours a day for those opportunities that come. You have to be fast. You have to be aggressive when something like that comes on. And there may be like 50 opportunities like that globally throughout markets, with strong fundamental trading a year, and you'd be lucky to even trade 5 of them. And you probably screw up 3 of those. But if you do it right and you're on the ball and you're paying attention, those come up. And right now we're in this period where there are far, far more of them than normal because so much is happening, so much is disconnected.
50 a week now, Adam?
Yeah, exactly. 5. In oil, I'm going to go off about oil because it's just been crazy right now. But it's also important. I talk about being aggressive. You have to stay in the game. It just pains me. I've been at Forex Live like 10, 12 years now. Just seeing people blow up and go away. You feel on one hand you can't help it. Like people are going to blow up. People are going to do stupid things. But it's like my life's work to try to make it better. So talking about oil, All right, so look at this tweet. It's up on your screen. What jumps out to you about this? I use this as an example because I like Amina Baker, and she's awesome. There's so many good oil journalists on Twitter that have helped me so much in trading. But what is it about that tweet? All right, he's talking about Mexico. This is like around the OPEC decision time 3 weeks ago. We're talking about a difference of 125,000 barrels per day here. And the tweet, like the volume of news at this time is just silly. And what stands out is 543 retweets on this. Look at all these, like who is reading? Like, it to me was a dead giveaway. And I wrote about it the next day that this is insane. How could there be that much? Like, because it's meaningless. I mean, 125,000 barrels per day in the normal times maybe would mean something. But there's like a deficit of between 10 and 20 or even 30 million barrels per day of demand. And like it just didn't matter. And it was a dead giveaway to me that there was just dumb money. There was way too much money and interest in oil. Because like, I'm an oil guy. I'm all over that. I would never, ever retweet something like that to the Forex Live people, because it just didn't matter at the time. So who was doing it? And it came out later that, it's this bubble and bubbles thing, that there's so many people suddenly trading oil. So, they went from pot stocks to Beyond Meat to Tesla to whatever the heck it is. And it was just suddenly oil was the thing. Everyone was buying, just piling in. And it turns out, the headline that I wrote when I was writing about this tweet was, where are all the tourists that would be in New York and Paris right now because of the lockdown? Evidently, they're all trading. They're all in the oil market. So that's kind of
Adam, the number of retweets, that was a signal to you that of what again?
That just dumb money was flooding into oil.
Okay. That
people were in oil that shouldn't be in oil. That something at that point, it was just like something is weird is going on in oil. Because how could, some people were trying to tell, well, there were people in Mexico were really interested, but it was just an example because there were, the same day could have picked a dozen other examples of things that that didn't matter for
people really hoping for a rally. It told you that people were hoping for a rally.
Well, yeah, it did. I didn't take it that far. I just said, wow, why this? There's this, and I'm following the same people all the time. And you just suddenly everybody's on this trade. You're like, what? And they don't know what they're doing if they just got into that this week. So it was just this sudden spike of interest. And you can see it in different ways now. It's like, okay, what are they trading on Robinhood? Or, even if you just look around the internet, what's the buzz in? Now, if it's something like Microsoft, well, it's not big enough to make a difference. But I guess in other things it is. And you're just piling into these teams. So you got to get ahead of them. That was such an awesome opportunity. I was like sort of skip ahead. I know I'm talking fast here too, but
no, it's good. That cartoon was good too.
We take it from there, and then it was just pull it in what I wrote about, and we figured it out. It was like a few days later, we was like, what the heck is going on in oil? And it was USO. You start to figure, okay, you start to see the stuff out there, the numbers of USO. You crunch the numbers. And you say, okay, now they have 27% of the open interest in USO. And they don't know that needs to be rolled over. Like retail is just obscenely stupid over and over again. And some of those are the best tools out there that just show you retail positioning when it gets stretched. And just go against it, like the bottom picking. I mean, we talk about it all the time. This chart showed the shares outstanding in USO, and that was it. Okay, you were trying to figure out, well, who's watching. Oh, it really is dumb retail traders coming in, buying USO, which they don't understand what it is. And if you're in this presentation, you don't know what happened to USO. It essentially blew up, and just killed trades here. So here, it seems to me that the trades to short USO or the June contract. I mean, what did I do? I shorted USO. That was it. It got cut in half. Thank you very much. And it was a mathematical trade. It was so obvious. Like I said, these are the value of all the oil contracts we own, which was $3.50 a share. And here's what oil's at, $4. Or here's what it's trading at. USO is trading at. And you're just like, well, this thing is trading at like a 25% premium to net asset value. It doesn't get any better than that. So if you're paying attention, you pick up on those. you kind of, you watch what others are watching, you figure out what's the hot ticket right now. And that, I think, is how markets are evolving. I go fast here. Sorry, it's probably a little bit over the top, but economists are stupid. You look as somebody who's reading a lot, the temptation is to read things that you want to hear and to look for some sort of orthodoxy or comfort or somebody who knows something. And you'd just be disappointed by, they're very predictable to begin with. Why hasn't there been a reckoning about 2019? What was the story in 2019 in markets? It was the U.S.-China trade war. And you had like a zillion economists, every single one of them coming out saying, this is going to kill GDP, blah, blah, blah. It didn't. It didn't. Why were you so wrong? Then you're listening to it, and I'm listening to it thinking, well, these guys, I don't know, they crunched the numbers. They were wrong. They were like 100% wrong. You just cruise right through it. And they're just always wrong. And it is so, there's such the field right now of economics. I don't mean all economists. I just mean like the mainstream. It's just such a herd. And it goes around and be careful about following it. This is the echo chamber. And what the edge in it, because that's what this is about, is seeing things that they consistently miss on. So CapEx was a good one for the last 5 or 6 years. So it was always, growth's picking up. Now CapEx is going to pick up, which is business investment. And we're going to see it again coming out of this. Okay, where's the business investment? Where it was never coming because technology has changed business investment. And economists struggle with technology, right? Because it wasn't in their textbook 25 years ago when like Kenneth Rogoff was teaching them or something, and they just cling to that like it's the Bible, their old textbook. But technology changes everything. Like, what's Walmart investing in right now? Walmart used to build a store every week in the United States, probably twice a week. You need thousands of people and millions of dollars to do that. Now, the only thing they're investing in is their website, which is an investment, but it's not at the scale, so that doesn't flow through in the same way as CapEx usually. Technology investment has changed the investment game. There's no creativity. So be careful. Moving on. Central banks are everything. And I think we learned this the last month has been the greatest example of this in history. And there's Stanley Druckenmiller, one of the great traders of all time, 30% a year for 30 years running or whatever he did up until about 10 years ago. Earnings don't move the markets, the Federal Reserve Board. There it is. This headline there is from back on October 31st when Powell came out and I don't know if I have the quote here on this slide, here it is. I think we would need to see a really significant move up in inflation that's persistent before we'd even consider raising rates to address inflation concerns. And it was like a dead giveaway to buy the market. And it was, the market had a nice run. I don't know what the S&P 500 was up from there, but it was 15% or something like that. It's so important. And we saw it again, March 23rd, they came out, unlimited buying. Market had a bad day that day, but it's been straight up since. And, you get, it's just the second level of it on is that second point there is that how they interpret the world is more important than reality. So if they think they're heroes, they are creating this long-term bubble, which I'm going to talk about in the trades at the end, but they enjoy their power. And one of the great things you really want to realize, I know I'm going fast here, is that really the aim of all power is to get more power. So any institution that has power wants to get more power. And any crisis is an opportunity to get more power. And that's the same chaos as a ladder. And like the Fed here is expanding its powers, combining with the Treasury. The Fed has never been more powerful. And what do they want? They want the markets to go up. And that's it. That's it. Like it's not any more difficult than that. But when you have like the ECB today that doesn't have the power, right? They can't manufacture the power without the help of all the governments in the Eurozone. So that, and different banks have different mandates and different powers. So but their aim is to make credit cheaper, right? New point, changing gears, fade fear. This to me, if you're a fundamental trader, this is the trade. This is the easiest trade. It's the easiest trade in theory that's out there, is the fade fear. So this is like a meme. I use it all the time. It's from Shaun of the Dead. And he said in the movie, let's go to the pub, wait for the whole thing to blow over. I had the Ukraine thing. So that was 2014. Nobody even remembers Ukraine. It was like World War III for a few days in markets. We're just writing. The whole thing's going to blow over. There's no World War III coming out of this. But 9 times out of 10, that fear is wrong. The problem is you feel fearful. And it's the most powerful emotion. But when you recognize that fear out there, and that is like reading a lot, and you just get the sense that people, all right, everything's going to be fine. You have to have as your core belief that everything's going to be fine. Otherwise, markets it's very difficult to win in markets if you're like a natural bear. I use the World War III trade all the time. I say, what's the trade? I ask people if there are, if you hear a report or a rumor that, nuclear bombs are in the air. And people always say, well, sell everything. You say, no. You buy everything. Because if the rumor is right, we're all gone anyway. If the rumor is wrong, markets are going to bounce back. So it's kind of the trade on a lot of things that when fear is out there. Also need to remember the long arc of history is positive, and it's up and to the right. Now, I say 9 times out of 10, the fear is wrong, which means 1 times out of 10, the fear is right. So, as I talk about my process of doing things, the first thing I wrote about coronavirus was this, the same, let it all blow over. Now, in the same post at the same time, it's going to get worse before it gets better. But the point of that is you can't make up your mind and keep a position. You have to keep reading. So we talk about, all the things and sort of writing as it's going on. And you have to realize that it changes. So when let me pull up some of this is going down, you're kind of, you're out there and you're saying, okay, let's not worry too much. So this is January 21st too. And now you see what I'm writing about. Okay, let's look at some papers. Now let's compare it to SARS. Is this going to be worse than SARS? Well, how much did SARS hurt growth? Well, it cut Chinese GDP by 1 to 2%. That's significant. And then you kind of extrapolate that out, and then you're kind of working on a model. And that's the same day. And then you take a position, but you always have to challenge it. And then you see by the end of that same week, the 24th of January, saying, okay, this is real. So you realize my first instinct was wrong here. This is going to be a lot worse. They're closing things, on and on and on. It's just kind of breaking down the numbers. And, and you stick with the theme until it changes. Really, it was very painful trade for a while because, markets were going out. It wasn't being appreciated. But, it was early March, talking about a full-scale panic. And then it happens. So it's really to challenge your beliefs. I misspell beliefs there. I apologize. And be willing to change your mind. And that's sort of the difficult thing. I'll talk about that a bit more. Finally, if you are reading a lot, don't read conspiracies. I am so sick of it. People send them to me all the time. It's a waste of your time. Any kind of conspiracy. Yes, we know the government is corrupt. Yes, companies are cheating. Yes, the entire system is a sham. And it's partly true, a lot of it. But you're not going to make money doing it. If you're in this to make money, and it's like I have people I trade with, and we want to talk politics all the time. And we'll be in a good conversation about valuations or some angle. And they're just switching into politics. Let's not do that because it's not going to make us any money. And it's, because it's out there. So many people are talking about it. It is interesting, but you just avoid that rabbit hole of thinking.
Save that for over a cocktail, huh, buddy?
Yeah, well, it's it. There is free Friday night or whatever.
Yeah.
If you're in the business, just, you go on Facebook, you're like, really? Wuhan lab invented this? I don't know. I don't really care. This is it. People are dying. What's the economy doing? We'll let them sort it out later. I don't think we're ever going to get an answer. I watched this show on Waco on Netflix. Man, I always thought those people who committed suicide burned it. The government did that. There's a big conspiracy that covered it up. But whatever. Who cares? If you're in this is not your job. Go ahead and rant on it or something like Twitter or whatever. But don't waste my time with that.
Hey, Adam, it's funny. Ashraf put out a tweet about COVID and everything, and certain things that were terrible about it. I retweeted, yeah, Ashraf, but where do we sell the S&P?
Yeah, that's it.
Right? Isn't that it? Where do we buy it? Where do we sell it? Right, bro?
Yeah, and if it, if it is, and I believe it is, like an 8-hour-a-day job, you really want to make money in markets, is where you put that energy. And if you want to put it into that, fine, put a little bit of energy into that, but don't think it's going to make you money. It's a distraction.
I'm a betting man. I bet 8-hour a day is a short day for you.
Oh yeah, all the time. It's easier when you love it, and you waste time. So it is what it is. But and this is kind of the final point. I think it brings it all together. Is that conviction meanders, and I could have told you back in January I was very, very worried about coronavirus. You saw it. I wrote it down.
Yeah.
But then you see the market go against you for 3 weeks, and then you're out writing things that this doesn't even make sense. Like, how is this? You can see some of the things I write. It's just like
Adam, I don't know if you mind if I bring a couple of the viewer questions to you during your presentation, but
Rolando, we're kind of between the two parts here, so yeah.
Okay, Rolando is asking, what is your number one thing you see to trade fundamentals?
What is the number one?
Number one thing. To
trade fundamentals?
Yeah, for trading fundamentals.
Well, forexlive.com. What else is there?
That's okay. That's a good answer.
Yeah, but the number one thing is, I would actually go back and just say, probably maybe it's because it's on my mind, is that you have to have a positive long-term view of humanity, because there's this balance where most news is negative, but the arc of human history is positive.
Wow.
And that divergence will lead you to making bad decisions more often than not if you don't have a core fundamental belief that things are getting better.
Yeah, it costs me to be negative.
Well, it's tough when you're fighting the Fed, right? I mean, this would have been a heyday, and it was for shorts, and I was there too. But man, I'm not going to talk about coronavirus and what the trade is here, because nobody knows. This is crazy. But that's all I want to say about that.
Okay,
so
thank you, buddy.
Very negative in January, early February. And then I'm just writing it. Fundamentals are dead. This cheap money is out of control. I kept writing that if China is to contain this, it would be the greatest public health victory of all time. And you think, wow, the technology, they came pretty close. But, it was tough. It was tough to be negative. So conviction meanders. And here's another example. So you see this chart here, and this got a lot. It was one of the things I wrote that got the most views ever. Was in March 17th. You see there, oil $28, and I'm saying this goes to zero, because people they don't really understand. And then you can see the responses there. Impossible. You make yourself look ridiculous. And it was just a fundamental trade, and just a misunderstanding of really how oil works. If you think of it like other assets or even other commodities, oil's a negative yielding asset. So it's valuable in the ground, and it's valuable once it's in your car or going into your car, other end products of petrochemicals. But in between, it's a huge liability to store it, to move it, to refine it. And the whole system only works because they can do it so quickly. But once you back it up and there's no end demand, it just becomes worthless and a burden, especially if you're pumping more and more out of the ground. And that's when people were saying 125,000 barrels a day, we're tweeting about that. You're like, this is stupid. What you have in excess of oil is a burden. So, but as you're doing that, and when you're right, it's tremendously right in something like that, it's easy to be right. I could tell you 100 examples of when I've been right, a million, but it's hard to stay right. And that is the real art of it. And it's, to me, the key, the magic is getting the position size right. So you can talk about, listen, I wrote about oil. I could be on a beach somewhere. If I had gone all in on this, I could make realistically, $100 million on that trade. But conviction matters. It's hard to lose money and maintain your conviction. And that's why position sizing is so important. You got to compound the gains, stay in the game, and you eventually get rich. And but you can't, people can do it overnight. And different people are different. Some people can tolerate more risk. I'm a fairly risk averse person, even when I have a ton of conviction in something. because I don't need to make 100% tomorrow. I like what I do. I like doing
You have a
it.
ballpark percentage of position sizing compared to your account and average risk that you'll take on these trades, Adam?
Like something like oil. I mean, I have if I think it was 10%, somewhere between 5 and 10% at various times,
Okay.
and then
Of
upwards
equity.
of like more at 25%, but never more than that. I mean, even on Kernan, giving a dead giveaway on oil, because there's always something you can miss. I mean, you just don't blow up. And then kind of along with that is just know the time on your trade. But in terms of position size, it depends on who you are. I mean, God bless someone if they saw this and bought some puts or puts on futures, or just sold the futures. I mean, look, the upside was insane on that. I mean, nobody saw negative 35, but I did see 0. And anyway, so that's that. Give me another
Great call.
question, because we're into the second part here. So I got some stuff
Okay.
that's shaking up here now. Any questions? All right.
Does this mean that day trader, long-term trader, or different session trade? I'd call you a scalper. What do you think, Adam?
Well, I disagree with that a little bit, Dale.
Okay.
Yeah. It's all of them. It's all of them. I mean,
Okay.
there are things you need to have. They play out, and some of the ones I'm going to talk about will play out over years, and other ones. But really, what we're doing on the kind of the intraday basis is fine, and it is Forex Live. It's valuable for that. It's finding out like what's happening right now, what it means, and what the opportunity is, if there is one. And 9 times out of 10 there isn't, but you got to be ready. So that I guess that's what I'd say to that. And then I guess just the final point on this point, I almost forgot it, is listen, if you want to trade, it's tough. The greatest path to prosperity is buy and hold investing. If you just want to go long stocks, forget about it, probably do pretty well. The history of it's pretty good. I mean, you compound 10% a year for 20 years. It's a big number. So, consider that. But there are other ways to make money, leverage money, compound that. And I mean, you're obviously here to trade. So just keep that in mind, because I just hate to see people blow up. All right, let's talk about, you can pepper some questions in whenever you want, Dale.
Okay, buddy.
This is part 2 of the presentation. I only have 10 minutes left. Is just sell oil. This trade isn't over yet. Oil, like boom and bust, is the heart of commodities. Is every oil, nothing has changed under the sun. As oil booms, they invest a ton of money in bringing more oil online, because there's a 3 to 5 year lag in a big oil project to get it up and running. And we're still in that. And now, so it's massive overproduction, and it hasn't changed. And it breaks my heart to see, I explained some of this already, so many people long oil right now. And we're back up, I think around $20, $18, $20 in the front month. That's the time to bet against oil. And I just don't even think this is close to, and we're getting closer to expiration. But you know what you're trading, know how it works. In the long-term history of the oil market, 1 to 2% imbalances have led to huge overshoots and undershoots in price. Right now, we're somewhere around 25% oversupply. It's unprecedented. There's nowhere for the oil to go. Tanker rates are insane right now. It takes time to slow production. And then I think coming out of this is the big trade, is the then buy part, is that shale is dead. Shale was a massive lie. This is fracking. It was supposed to be $20 oil, unlimited oil. Nobody made money last year at $55 oil. Nobody in shale.
Adam, I assume that somebody has to tell the US government, because they're about to bail out an industry that is indeed dead.
Yeah, well, they're bailing out a lot of dead industries right now. And you're right. I don't know how far this bailout is going to go. And it might have to go through Congress. And, they're giving away space in the SPR here. But it's just delaying the inevitable. you know, it's dead though. And nobody will lend money to shit. Anybody who, like, this was going to be the trade of the year before coronavirus happened, was on the other side of shale because it was going down.
We
hard.
had Mark Yusko yesterday here, and if I remember right, he said that the industry has burned something like 50 to 60 billion dollars.
Yeah. And it was, you know, it was this dream. It was one of the great sales jobs of all time, but it was out and out fraud. Every part of it was fraud. And, you know, in a proper world, someone would go to jail. We don't live in a proper world. And what's going to happen is, you know, it's busting. That production's never going to come back. And the boom and bust cycle of oil is nobody is investing right now. Nobody will invest in shale ever again. I won't
the
say
bank
ever.
certainly will not finance that again. And you talked about it several months ago about all the bad debt that had to be rolled over in shale, and that's before things fell apart.
Yeah, I almost lament that the trade didn't play out. Obviously, it did.
Dale, don't be 100% sure about the banks not financing it, because as long as the debt will be guaranteed by the government,
that's true.
They might as well finance it, right?
You have to make money.
Oh yeah, I keep forgetting about Uncle Sam.
Yeah, you see.
You know, Uncle Sam's pockets are really deep, aren't they?
It does. But
You mean the printing press is really deep.
Change the rules of the game. But at the same point, it's not just shale right now, right? There's no investment going into anything. If you read any oil company report, even this week, the amount of capex they're cutting is unreal. And that's all for oil that's going to come online in 3 to 5 years. And a lot of the major fields are running off in that time. So there's a question about how much demand really comes back. And that is very uncertain right now. But I'm sure that the demand to come back is going to exceed the easily accessible or online supply. And I don't think that's a trade for at least 6 months, and maybe not as much as 18 months. But buying oil and oil companies is going to be a sensational trade, because the majors and bigger companies, they're going to pick up assets that are so cheap when these companies go bankrupt that you can't help but make money. I believe that as sure as the sun will rise, it will be back to $80 oil in 3 years. But again, it's like every trade. Timing is everything. Okay. Trade two these are the two words that are going to define the 2020s. Debt monetization. So, you know, and you can argue it's been going on for a long time, but I don't know if I should play this video, but I'll play the start of it. I don't know if it'll run through. Has anyone tried to play a YouTube video through this before?
Yeah, I don't think it works in Zoom. I'm not sure, but
no, you can actually do it, but you first need to, if it has sound, you need to also share your computer audio.
Okay. Well, there it is. Anyway, or I'll just read out what he's saying. She asked about debt monetization. That's the leader of the Reserve Bank of New Zealand. He says he's open-minded about it. I'll give you the link after, which is just an insane thing for central banks to say. I feel like it gets back to the core of what central banks are. And if you look at the history of central banks, one of the big roles is like the protector of money. And that morphed into an inflation mandate. But beneath the inflation mandate was and it is in a lot of central bank mandates, like the Bank of Canada's protect the currency. Australia has a similar sort of mandate. And then other mandates sort of got perverted into inflation, because inflation is kind of the second round effect of devaluing money, obviously. But their role is to separate governments in a way from the money. So you can be like Italy, right? Italy's government is broke. And yet Italians are on median wealth is higher than Germans, which is a rich government in comparison. And one of the reasons why is because the money is separated from the government. And you can have a government in our system that can spend unlimited deficits, but you get rid of them every 4 years or whatever your election is. And central banks are that kind of independent wall to make sure that they can't get their hands on the, printing indefinitely. So QE was a little bit of a backdoor into that, right? But outright debt monetization allows you to spend at unlimited amounts. And that's where we're headed, is really where we are headed. The deficits don't matter. And the U.S. is the winner in this. What was the great weapon of the United States in the Second World War? It was the nuclear bomb. But what was the greater weapon coming out? It's the U.S. dollar as the reserve currency of the world.
Yeah.
And it's far, far, far more powerful than anything else. And what happens is the U.S. is going to build everything and the rest of the world is going to pay for it, is one of the things. So your central bank, wherever you are, has massive U.S. dollar reserves. The whole system functions on U.S. dollars. Half the U.S. dollars in the world are outside of the U.S. And by monetizing, you're essentially, the rest of the world is paying half of it because you're devaluing the dollar is how you're paying for all this. This is an unbelievable trade-off for the Americans to spend. And it works the same with other large reserve currencies. And my belief is that it will go on for a long time. We know how it ends. In that clip of Orr, he talks about it. There's a lot of risks around debt monetization, inflation, blah, blah, blah. And we know that. If you look at, well, you can't really see on my wall behind me, but there's Zimbucks on it. It's like a chart of the Zimbabwe dollar going from $1 to $100 trillion up as they printed and printed. But I believe, and for the next decade at least, that it will go far. Like we're going to have a $5 trillion deficit in the U.S. this year. And I think that's going to be par for the course. I mean, maybe they get it down to 3 or 4, but $1 trillion used to be obscene. And we're just going to see how far we can take this because the deficit taps are wide open. And, history has proven this to be the end of empires over and over again, but we're going to do it again.
Besides gold, Adam, is there a fiat you prefer during this scenario that you're talking about?
I think about that a lot. And you'd think, well, some places, they don't really have kind of the same system, but they could change the rules. Indonesia on Tuesday became the first country to directly do it. So there's the QE that the end around is you sell debt at an auction and then you buy it in the open market. Whereas Indonesia on Tuesday just bought it directly from the central bank. So, it's kind of on the next slide here a little bit that I think this will play into it, at least in the short term, but we're talking about a decade-long trade. So much can change over time. And if you look at the structure of currencies, really the euro is best protected from that because they're never going to give the Germans especially will never give the ECB that kind of power. But, I don't want to buy the euro for other reasons, namely terrible growth. So, gold, silver, I think Bitcoin is like can capture that imagination. You can't fundamentally value it, but I think there is a nice uptrend there right now. And then it's like equities actually do pretty well. And you kill growth, but you can pretend that everything's rising. That's the magic about devaluation is the price of everything rises, but you also get more wealthy, like if you own stocks. So, even if I saw some great charts lately. It was saying gold versus the S&P 500 for 40 years, and it's down. Like gold is higher if you take out dividends. So which you shouldn't really take out. But, there is the case that we have been devaluing for a long time. And a lot of the wealth we've created is a bit of an illusion by technology. But the trade, and those are sort of the first two are a bit longer term, but right now it's to buy Australian and New Zealand dollar. And what's hard about that trade right now is, and what makes it, and I guess I'm out of time here, is that the old rules don't apply. Those used to be like pro-growth currencies. They used to have high rates, and that was why you bought them. And now they don't have those, but what they do have is no coronavirus or minimal coronavirus. So they can reopen, and that's going to mean growth will be still minus 3 to 5%, but everywhere else is going to be minus 5 to 10%. And there's this flood of money that's looking for somewhere to go. And
New Zealand has zero. I just saw a feature on New Zealand.
And they export soft commodities, which will still be in demand more than hard commodities. So I like them both, and there are different ways to play it. So Aussie dollar, I think, is going to 70. And I wrote about this at the start of the week, so we're kind of into the money in this already. But, they need the tourism, they need the exports, but relatively, I think it works. And you could pair it up with something like CAD if you're worried about the risk trade, or the euro, or USD if you're feeling a bit more optimistic. I'm not entirely sure what the best trade is going to be on that, but I like both of them against the rest. in this sort of long term, I believe deglobalization is coming, and the Mexican peso will be a massive winner in that. Just because they are, anyway, that's, I guess, I'll just leave the slide there. ForexLive.com. Check us out. Big education portal. Lots more like this. Some high energy stuff like this on YouTube. I hope I didn't talk too fast. I hope I entertained you.
Hey, Adam.
Adam, great presentation, buddy.
First of all, thank you for your presentation. Second of all, I think we can have a very nice debate. I agree with many of the things you said, but why don't you come by face one of these days? Coach, when do we have an opening for Adam?
Every Friday.
Okay, so Adam,
we'll work it out.
Set it up, and
okay.
I'll be happy to discuss with you a few things.
Sure. Okay. Well, thanks so much for everyone for coming. You can always ask me questions at forexlive.com, in the comments on Twitter. Yeah, hit me up there, and that's probably, we have a Telegram channel too. You can find the link on our site. I'll answer your questions there. So sorry I didn't have time for questions. Thanks so much for coming. I don't want to take anyone else's time. Thanks,
You're
Dale.
the best, Adam.
Thanks for the
Thank
time.
you so much.
Thank you very
bro.
much, Adam.